what my benchmark was for how much I had to teach these sophomores. And he said most of them knew the Pledge of Allegiance and could write it down. He said, that's great. Before you all think you're ready for college, now write down the Star Spangled Banner. With that, it's always good to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, especially since yesterday was the anniversary of September 11th. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Director Andalcio? Here. Director Carey? Here. Director Colson? Here. Director Frega? Aye. Director Fuentes?
Here.
Director Groven?
Here.
Director Higgins?
Here.
Director Holt?
Present.
Director Cotel?
Here.
Director Lewis?
Here.
Director Melvin?
Here.
Director Pang? Director Ross? Dr. Sager?
Here.
Director Troiani?
Here.
Chairman Dillard?
Here.
We have a quorum of 14 present with 2 absent.
Thank you very much, Audrey. The first item is item 3A, and that's the approval of the minutes from our last board meeting held on August 22nd of 2019. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second? Director Carey makes a motion. Director Andalcio is a second. Audrey, why don't you take a roll call vote on that so we have like a baseline roll call.
Director Andalcio?
Aye.
Director Carey?
Aye.
Director Colson?
Yes.
Director Frega? Aye. Director Fuentes?
Aye.
Director Groven?
Aye.
Director Higgins?
Aye.
Director Holt?
Aye.
Director Cotel?
Aye.
Director Lewis?
Aye.
Director Melvin?
Aye.
Dr. Sager?
Aye.
Director Troiani?
Aye.
Chairman Dillard?
Aye.
14 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Item 4 is the public comments segment of the meeting. I do not believe there are any speakers today. I'm not missing anybody out there in the audience, am I?
No one signed
If
up.
not, we will move on to item 5, which is our Executive Director, Leanne Redden's. Oh, we do. I'm sorry. Come on up. Introduce yourself, say who you are with or represent, and you have a few minutes, 3 minutes actually, by our rules. No? Right over. Thank you and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Anthony Rubino from Pace Suburban Bus. I just had a quick question regarding the capital. So I'm aware that that is split 50-50 throughout the agencies. And the only question I had is so for CTA receiving quite a bit more and Metro as well for the first year, out of the 5-year projection, will it eventually flip and Pace will receive the larger portion and CTA and Metro will receive smaller? I mean, I'm assuming the reason why they're receiving more is because they have their projects in order and lined up currently?
B or Leanne, you want to answer, or Jill?
I'm happy to talk with you offline about this. Are you talking about the PAYGO after the 5 years or the?
So I saw on the pie chart, it looked like CTA is 76%. So in the next 5 years, will they maybe go out to 14% and Pace will flip to a higher percentage?
Right. So I could explain all of the funding. I think probably I went through that pretty quickly, and you might have not.
Yeah,
picked
that's
up
the only thing.
nuances,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm happy to follow up with him.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only question. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you. Leanne, item 5.
Thank you. Okay, I'm hearing we have continuing technical difficulties, including me speaking. So at best the slides might appear in the corner, but I will just kind of, you know my drill. Considering that we just met 2 weeks ago, there's really not much for me additional to report. But through the end of August, the state owes the RTA $227.2 million in the combination of the debt service match, the ASA, AFA, Director Lewis will be a quiz at the end. Sorry, that's just an inside joke that we have. And the Public Transportation Fund, which is the state match to the sales tax. The state is about 14 months behind on the additional, on the ASA side of things, 14 months behind on AFA, and equivalent of 2.4 months behind on the PTF. The year-to-date cost of us carrying short-term debt to cover that shortfall or those delays is $3.7 million. Springfield is out of session until November, and Congress has just reconvened this past week. So on September 17th, there's not much to report on the there's nothing to report on the federal side either, so I'm sort of skipping ahead. On September 17th, the RTA will announce the availability of technical assistance funding for transportation planning, land use planning, and plan implementation projects as part of our community planning program. The call, as you all know, we do jointly in partnership with CMAP and their local technical assistance program. Since we often are working with many of the same constituencies, and this has worked very well in the past. Through this call, the RTA will be soliciting applications from local governments and service boards for new planning projects that advance the goals and objectives of our Invest in Transit strategic plan. The selected projects will be included in the RTA's 2020 Community Planning Program, and receive staff and/or outside consulting assistance for planning and plan implementation projects. The Community Planning Program serves providers and provides funding for technical assistance to local communities, the service boards that are focused for projects that are focused on transit planning and implementation in and around transit services. So the RTA has funded nearly 200 projects in the past. And we continue to work in that space. The potential applicants are encouraged to participate in an informational webinar that we're hosting on September 19, so they can learn. So any of your constituencies and the people you cross paths and work with, I encourage you to share that information and remind them to participate in that webinar. The application, and then talk about the application process, and then participate in Q&A that we'll do at that time. The call for projects is outlined in this mini slide, and again, focusing on a combination of our Invest in Transit projects as well as the tenants within the region's broader Onto 2050 plan. We also come back to you, as you recall, to have you review any recommended projects that we would be recommending for a future program. Next slide, please. Can we go? Yes, thank you. I wanted to mention and honor the legacy of Marka Bristow, who recently passed away. She was a pioneer in the fight against discrimination, advocating for people with disabilities, particularly in the area of transportation. Marka has been recognized as a tireless advocate for the disabled and really changed their lives through Access Living, the nonprofit group that she founded. Her achievements have been unrivaled. She was awarded the Distinguished Service Award of the President of the United States in her role in the creation and the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. She was the first person with a disability to chair the National Council on Disability. CTA has recognized her efforts in making our city's public transportation more accessible. And most recently, Marka consulted in the development of CTA's All-Station Accessibility Program plan, which will serve as CTA's roadmap for creating equal access to all public transportation that benefits both the City of Chicago and the state of Illinois. ASAP is a blueprint for making all of its CTA's rail stations 100% vertically accessible over the next 20 years. Marka Bristow leaves an extraordinary legacy of making the world a more just and accessible place for everybody, and we wanted to just mention this to the board and honor her today. So next slide, please. My final thing that I wanted to mention was Hispanic Heritage Month begins September 15th, and we're honored to feature our newest board member, David Andolcio, and on his post for RTA blog post, Ride On. The blog will be published early next week, and I encourage all of you to take a couple of moments to read that. Director Andolcio highlights his background and work with the Hispanic community. And we want to thank Director Andolcio additionally for his efforts as an advocate for minority, disadvantaged, and women-owned business enterprises, and participating in our efforts with both the blog post, but as for that month as a whole. And Mr. Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you. Any questions of Leanne? David, thank you for allowing us to feature you in her Hispanic Heritage Month. Director Lewis.
Liam, would you be able to send us the link for the call for so we can send it out just so our constituents, that'd be very helpful.
Absolutely, we can send that out after the meeting.
Great. Moving on is item 6, and that's the approval of a consent item as it appears on the board agenda. The first one is 6A, which is the ordinance authorizing the quarterly amendments to the 2019 to 2023 capital program and the innovation coordination and enhancement, the ICE-funded projects. And 6B is the ordinance that we've been working on so diligently, establishing estimates of the amount available to the service boards for their 2020 to 2022 operating budgets and the required recovery ratios for 2020 and the preliminary 2020 to 2014 capital funds. And I just want to echo my thanks to starting with the staff, tremendous work. I want to thank the service boards for their give and take and their input. Director Melvin, who's now our finance chair, Chris, thank you so much, and Director Holt, Director Colson, I very much appreciate your little extra input, very helpful. And thanks to the board. We have an exceptional board with tremendous ideas, and I don't think sometimes the public understands how many hundreds of hours of time it took to put together that ordinance. And I thank you all for your perseverance and your input on that. And the staff, again, thank you so much for your tremendous work. And that includes my friends at the service boards as well. With that, can I have, yes, question, I'm sorry, Dr. Sager.
I would like to move approval with appreciation.
Thank you, and very well spoken during the Finance Committee. I can see why you are or were a mayor, so very
Thank you.
articulate. There's a reason you have that doctor in front of your name. Can I have a second? Second by Director Melvin. Is there leave for the attendance roll call? Seeing no objection, leave is granted, and again, thank you very much.
14 ayes and 2 absent.
Excellent. Item 7 is the approval of contract and expenditure items as they appear on the board agenda. The first one is 7A, which is an ordinance authorizing a contract for financial advisory services. I think it's for about 6 firms. 7B is an ordinance authorizing a contract for visual communication services. 7C is an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Automatic Data Processing, ADP Corporation, which so many companies use throughout the United States for its contract. And 7D are the travel reimbursements for staff and board members. Any questions on any of those? If not, can I have a motion on these? Director Sager moves, and Director Cotel seconds. Madam Secretary, is there leave for the attendance roll call on item 7, A through D? Seeing no objection, leave is granted, and that will be so recorded.
14 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Item 8 is new business. Any new business to come before the board this morning? If not, as a reminder, our next scheduled meeting date for the RTA board is Thursday, October 17th, beginning with committees at 8:30, followed by our regular board meeting. Hopefully at that meeting we will actually start at 8:30, but the time, and I thank you for your patience and perseverance, a little extra hour of negotiations pays big dividends for our riders, which is the most important thing, and taxpayers. If there's no further business to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion and a second to adjourn. Director Groven moves we adjourn, seconded by Director Carey. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank